Charles Barkley never won an NCAA basketball game in the NCAA.
In the tournament, yeah.
In the tournament. Never won a tournament game. Charles, you just got good in the pros. I was good my whole life, bro.
Charles Barkley started out as a 5'10" backup point guard. Nobody even wanted to recruit him. In the 1984 draft, he was picked 39 spots after Michael Jordan. And the crazy part? He admitted it all himself, right on camera. But it gets better. Kenny Smith just walked into a TNT studio with the receipts. Right there on national TV, Kenny said Chuck only got good after he made it to the pros. Then Kenny dropped 3 massive questions. Questions that completely shatter the myth of Barkley's Hall of Fame career. 3 questions. 3 answers. And trust me, Charles Barkley doesn't want you to hear a single one of them.
You know what I always joke with Charles about? I said, Charles, you just got good in the pros. I was good my whole life.
This is Kenny Smith we are talking about. 2-time NBA champ. The number 6 overall draft pick. An All-American who has spent 40 years breathing this sport. He has shared locker rooms with every single legend you can think of. So when Kenny talks about who is really great, everyone stops and listens. And the guy he is talking about? Sir Charles. The 1993 MVP. One of the absolute best to ever play the game. But here is the secret that has been buried for 40 years. The thing you think made Charles Barkley great? That is not it at all. Chuck wasn't some basketball genius from day one. He wasn't born destined for greatness. He was just a heavy kid from Alabama. Only 2 colleges even wanted him. By the time he hit the NBA draft, he weighed 300 pounds. Do you know why the world even knows his name today? Because Moses Malone, a true Hall of Famer, cornered him in a locker room and made him cry. Moses forced him to drop 50 pounds and get into shape. Kenny put it all out there on camera. And the funny part? Chuck spent a whole podcast accidentally proving Kenny right. Kenny didn't just throw out a wild opinion. He started with a kill shot. He brought the facts.
He's like, what are you talking? I was like, did you make McDonald's? He's like, nah. Did you make first team All-American? Nah. Were you college player of the year? No.
3 questions, 3 numbers. That is the entire pre-NBA.
3 questions. 3 numbers. That completely sums up Charles Barkley's entire basketball life before the NBA. No McDonald's All-American game. No first-team All-American honors. No College Player of the Year award. Every single top prospect in the country hits at least one of those milestones. Chuck hit 0. Absolutely nothing. And then Kenny dropped the ultimate truth bomb. A secret so wild even the host of the show had never heard it before.
Charles Barkley never won an NCAA basketball game in the NCAA.
In the tournament, yeah.
In the tournament. Never won a tournament.
0 NCAA tournament wins. No Sweet 16. No Elite 8. Not even one single win. During Chuck's whole college career, Auburn played just 1 NCAA tournament game. Just 1. It was against Richmond back in 1984. And they lost by a single point, 72-71. Podcast host just sat back in his chair, completely shocked. He said, I never knew that. Mind-blowing, right? We are talking about one of the top 50 players in the history of the game. But that is exactly what Kenny does. He digs up the hidden facts and brings them right out into the light.
I was just great early.
Yeah.
And then I was really good in the pros, and then you came late. Because you ain't had no pressure going on. I had no pressure. I'm like, oh, man, Charles Barkley, this all get him.
Nobody cared who he was. 0 pressure. Nobody was even watching. Chuck didn't build his greatness on national TV. He earned it in the dark, long after the NBA had already drafted him. But then Kenny did something really risky. He gave Chuck a fake way out. He looked right at him and said, "We can't let you come over here acting like Draymond."
Come on.
No, but Charles is one of the 50 best players to ever play basketball. But no, let me take that back. He's probably one of the best 20 players to ever play. But he wasn't one of the best 20 until he was 23.
He is a top 20 player of all time. But that didn't happen until he was already in the NBA. Until he was already getting a paycheck. All that greatness Chuck is known for? It didn't start until the whole world was already watching him. That is not a normal Hall of Fame story. That is a comeback story, just dressed up like one. Now, if Kenny said all this and Chuck fought back, you could just call it a debate. Just two guys arguing. But Chuck didn't deny it. Not at all. He confirmed every single word. In his own voice, right on his own podcast.
The thing that's crazy, and you guys don't even know this, man, I wasn't even good at basketball.
Get a growth spurt, right?
I went from 5'10" to 6'5" in 1 year.
I did too.
So nobody even knew who the hell I was because they're like, I'm not on anybody's radar. And no schools are recruiting me. I'm a 5'10" backup point guard.
Point guard.
Yeah, I'm a backup too. I'm not even no good.
Let that sink in for a second. I wasn't good at basketball. That is not a reporter saying it. That is not some hater talking trash. That is Charles Barkley, the MVP, the Hall of Famer, one of the top 50 players to ever touch a basketball. Those are his exact words about his younger self. And believe it or not, the story gets even worse.
And only Alabama, Auburn, and UAB is recruiting me because everybody's already signed.
Only 2 colleges even gave him a look. Both were in Alabama. And honestly, they only checked him out because recruiting season was basically over. The real stars, guys like Bobby Lee Hurt and Ennis Watley, had already signed somewhere else. Chuck was just a leftover, a backup plan, a random name on a clipboard that 2 local schools took a gamble on simply because they had nothing to lose. He really wanted to be so he could stay in Birmingham close to his mom. But Alabama already had the big-name players. Both programs were fresh off Sweet 16 runs. Both rosters were totally packed with talent. So Chuck looked at his options and made a cold, hard choice.
Shit, I said, no, I'm signing here. He said, what? He says, I'm watching our team play. These motherfuckers ain't no good. I can play here.
He picked Auburn for one simple reason. They were terrible. Team was so weak that a heavy kid with 0 real offers could just walk right onto the court and become a starter. Now flip the script. Compare that to the guy on the other side of this argument.
5 years ago, I got a ball, and it was the top 35 high school players ever. Shaq was on it, LeBron was on it.
Kenny was already grouped with the absolute legends when he was just a teenager. Chuck? He was just a backup plan for 2 Alabama schools that barely even wanted him. Now, let's bring in the villain of this story. It wasn't Michael Jordan. It wasn't some bitter rival on the court. The real enemy was Charles Barkley's own body.
When I was in college, I played about right at 300 pounds. My weight fluctuated between 290 and 300. I played about basically 295. But I was having success. I think to this day, I'm still the only person to lead the SEC in rebound in 3 straight years. So I don't think anything wrong.
300 pounds. Sure, he led the SEC in rebounds for 3 straight years. He did some real damage in college. But listen closely. This was not the Charles Barkley you know today. This wasn't the high-flying superstar on all those bedroom posters. In fact, his college actually had to use a Sports Illustrated story just to sell tickets. Auburn had to figure out a way to market this big, unexpected star to the fans. And here is exactly what they printed.
They made a list of like Crisco Kid, the Good Time Blimp, the Round Mound of Rebound. So there was about 10 of them total of nicknames they had.
He had around 10 different nicknames just making fun of his weight. Crisco Kid, the Wide Load, the Good Time Blimp. Back in college, that is exactly how the whole country saw him. He was treated like a circus act. A novelty. Just a really big guy who somehow had fast feet. Nobody looked at him and saw a future top 50 player of all time. Well, not yet anyway. Then came the moment that changed everything. The spark that built the legend. Moses Malone walked right into the Philadelphia 76ers locker room. Keep in mind, this was a team already packed with absolute stars like Julius Erving and Billy Cunningham. Moses took one look at the heavy rookie. He looked at Chuck like he had seen this exact kind of story play out before.
So I go up. I said, Big Mo, why am I not getting a play? He's, oh, young fella, you're fat and you're lazy.
Plain and simple.
I'm like, what? He says, you're fat and you're lazy. He said, Charles, can't play at 300 pounds in the NBA, young fella. You're too fat and too lazy. Can't work hard at 300 pounds. And I went downstairs and cried, not gonna lie.
Picture this, Charles Barkley, the future MVP, sitting downstairs and crying. All because a legend gave him a harsh reality check. That is nowhere near the loud, confident Chuck you see on TV right now. That was just a kid. Kid who was exactly one bad season away from washing out of the NBA forever. He was a first-round draft pick, teetering right on the edge. He was about to be labeled a massive bust before he even finished his rookie year. But instead of giving up on him, Moses offered a hand. He just said, hey, let's drop 10 pounds together.
No, he said, let's lose 10 pounds. He made me practice, made me out to practice. I get to 290, and I noticed, like, even at 10 pounds, I can work a little bit harder. He said, okay, let's lose 10 more. I'm like, okay. I get to 280. Now I'm actually getting to play. He says, let's lose 10 more. Now I'm at 270. Now I'm really getting to play. If you had told me to lose 50 pounds, I was like, there's no fucking way I can lose 50 pounds. There's no way. And I lost the 50 pounds, and the rest is history.
50 pounds. 50. That is the only difference between Charles Barkley, the complete bust, and Charles Barkley, the Hall of Famer. He was 300 pounds on draft night, but he dropped to 250 by the time the rest of the league finally learned to fear him. His entire career story comes down to that one number. 50 pounds. Sweated out in a lonely NBA practice gym, all because one man flat out refused to let him fail. He didn't get good in high school. He didn't get good in college. He got good in the NBA. And Chuck himself? He actually said the quiet part out loud.
First of all, he was already one of the best to ever do it. For him to take a little fat kid under his wing, it changed my
whole life. That one sentence proves every single word Kenny Smith just said. Chuck admitted it straight from his own mouth. He didn't get truly great until he hit the pros. Now, after dropping all those truth bombs, Kenny finally gave him one tiny piece of credit. But listen closely to just how small it really is.
It is.
There was a point where if I walked in the gym, there was some fear. There was a point there.
Sure, there was a point in time. Not right from day one, but a small window. A short stretch where Chuck was the guy who absolutely terrified the rest of the league. Kenny gave him credit for that window and nothing more. Now, here is the part nobody wants to talk about. Don't get it twisted. This is not a story about Charles Barkley being a fake. He is a true Hall of Famer. An MVP. One of the fiercest power forwards to ever step on a basketball court. But the legend? It has been sold to us completely backwards. The myth tells us that he was always Sir Charles. Born tough. Born to dominate. Like he was built in a lab. The real truth is a lot colder. For the first 19 years of his life, Charles was just a heavy kid that only 2 schools wanted. He was a guy on the bench who just got lucky with a sudden growth spurt. A guy with 10 joke nicknames printed in a national magazine. A rookie who Moses Malone looked at and called lazy right to his face. He didn't become the Charles Barkley until the bright lights and the cameras finally turned on. Not a second before. And then Kenny laid out his own true definition of greatness right there on the podcast.
Greatness really to me is not moments also. It's also the extent of how long you do it, of it. Like, if I average 16 points a game for 10 years, I'll be a Hall of Famer. It's just every day is, what I was saying that champions do daily what everybody else do occasionally.
Greatness is all about how long you do it. Kenny started being great at just 12 years old on the courts of New York City. Chuck? He didn't start until he was 23, sweating it out in a Philly practice gym. That right there is an 11-year gap. And that is the entire argument. Charles Barkley isn't just a great basketball player. He is the ultimate late bloomer in NBA history. He is a guy who simply refused to stay that heavy kid nobody wanted. It is the craziest transformation story in modern hoops. He dropped 50 pounds and basically pulled a Hall of Fame career right out of thin air. That isn't just a legend. That is a flat-out miracle. And Kenny Smith, the guy who was a star his entire life, just reminded the world that a miracle is not the same thing as a lifelong legacy. If you agree that Chuck got good late and Kenny is just speaking the cold, hard truth, hit that like button right now. Or if you think Kenny is being unfair to an absolute legend, drop a comment and let us know why. And do not forget to subscribe for more hidden truths and buried receipts the NBA wants you to forget.